Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniatures. Today I got myself some of the Warcaster models from Privateer Press that I'd really been wanting, namely the Siegebreaker, but I also ended up with a couple extra models for the Eternus Continuum. This guy's part of the Iron Star Alliance, the Vassal Witch Hunters, and another Weaver. This is the Immortal Weaver. I had the other version, I think, on here before. Or maybe I'm thinking of a totally different model. Anyway, I really wanted to get this Siegebreaker. I was really looking forward to him. He's just a big, bulky, robot mech-type dude with a massive cannon. And the other two were basically freebies, so I really can't complain in a nice little deal. So we've got some Vassal Witch Hunters there. And I'm just going to pop these guys open because I want to see what's in there. Little cards with the fluff on them. I like that. Of course, I like being able to find this stuff's info online also. I miss the old setup for the Privateer Press website. I like having those 360 turnarounds. Yeah, I know Flash, not the best, but sadly there's no Parmesan cheese in here. I know it's a nice, effective way of cutting costs. Besides the blue paint on my fingers from painting trolls, casting quality is quite nice. Then again, I can't recall a time I've ever had a problem with any of the metals of Privateer, other than sometimes we've had some wonky choices of where to connect the parts. I think that's how that goes. It looks like it. Maybe it doesn't. Skirt is a separate piece. A little bit of armor on there. Tiny little hand. Hopefully I won't lose. And whatever this orb thing is. Thermal detonator, maybe. Clean up the flash in there a little bit. I don't know about you guys, but I've heard good things about Warcaster. Getting a local game in is going to be a bit more of a challenge. I know some of the somewhat local shops have some players there, but I think it's more just the usual guys that are like me and buy into various Kickstarters and then never get around to playing this stuff. So that may not be the best help. Okay, we've got the cards in there. Hold on to those just in case. 30mm bases. And then, what's this? Now, this is an oddity. We have 3 completely different sculpts for a trio of Privateer models. That's not something that happens very often. That's one of my major knocks against Privateer's models, is they tend to have the same repeated poses in larger units, and even in 3-man units I've seen a couple times, but I do like the fact that there is not a repeat sculpt here. Huzzah! Very Infinity-like vibes with those trench coats, the sleeveless get up with the armor underneath. Very Pan-O feeling to me. I know it's nowhere near the style of Pan-O. I know what Pan-O armor looks like. But honestly, I'm thinking if I don't get around to ever getting a chance to use these in Warcaster, at the very least, these would make some great stuff for like Stargrave or 5 Parsecs from Home. Paladin Siegebreaker, that's it. I kept looking at the box saying just Siegebreaker, and I thought it was a Paladin something or other. I was right. Alright, let's check out our Paladin in here. This card is not inside the package, but that's okay. I guess he's post-Kickstarter, so you can tell the difference. These, you can see that shine, that gloss. They're very glossy in both look and feel, whereas this is very just kind of thinner cardboard as the camera decides to lurch every direction of its own accord. Stay there, please. There we go. We didn't even get to unveil the main event yet. Alright. Oh, hooray! This is a pleasant surprise. You'll notice this is not metal. This is actually a cast resin piece. I really dig when Privateer does resin casting. However, number one, I don't see his head. Is he supposed to have a head? I think he's supposed to have a head. Oh, maybe it's just attached. Yeah, okay, duh. I'm not a huge fan of mixed material models, but I think in this case, I think it'll be okay. So we've got the main body, the metal thruster jetpack, X-Gundam satellite beam system, whatever is going on there. And then his arms, he's got, I have no idea what it looks like. Multi-missile rack salvos, big blade attached to his arm, and I think everything attaches like that. So actually that's kind of cool. There's a connection point both on the backpack and on the arm, which, you know, when you're using mixed materials, that's actually kind of a bonus. And then he's got a big ol' honkin' blaster, and I really dig that belt-fed ammo as well. That is a cool look. This is the most Shiro-looking model from Privateer I think I've seen yet. I'm not sure where that belt is supposed to feed into. That's going to be an interesting... It looks like it's supposed to be facing up like that, firing the gun. Kind of like that. I think with those arms attached, this is going to be a pretty good sized model. Yes, he is supposed to be only on a 40mm base. He is not the size of a Jack yet. He's a solo model. I'm going to eagerly put him together, and maybe I'll actually finish up some of the heavy infantry non-tag stuff from Infinity with this guy serving as inspiration, because he seems to be about the same size as some of the heavy infantry models, and hopefully I'll actually get them painted, but when I get it built, and we'll see how they turn out. Alright, check it out. So, first off, we've got our Immortal Weaver. Definitely a funky pose. Now, I will admit, outside of Warcaster, I'm not 100% sure what I would use her for. I do have a few sci-fi skirmish games, I guess, as a mage or psychic type. Construction wasn't too bad. Actually, of all the figures, she was probably the most challenging just due to the size of her limbs. Very small, very delicate, very fragile, and trying to get that rear loincloth in place and not making a mess of everything else was probably the biggest hassle right there. Alright, so that is our Immortal Weaver. Here we've got our Witch Hunters. I think this one, they really give off an Infinity vibe. I think, like I said before, I think it's just the overcoat and the hoods. I know I've painted a few Infinity figures over the years with hoods over their armor. I don't like this one. I don't know why. My favorite of the trio is probably this one, but I do like the fact that, hey, for a whole unit, we don't have any repeat sculpts. I really can't complain about that. I feel like far too often, like I said before, I feel like I'm just repeating myself. I feel like we get too many of the repeats with the Privateer stuff, so I do appreciate the fact that everybody is in their own unique position. And finally, the model I am the most pleased with, the Paladin Siegebreaker. This dude is just kitted out. Almost to the point that I wonder if I could take some of the parts from like one of the light warframes, warjacks or whatever we call them these days in the future, and possibly stick some bits on there. I'm really curious if it would work. Probably not, but you never know. So obviously you can see he is a good deal larger than all of his compatriots on the table. And I went ahead and grabbed a few other models just to give you guys a good idea of what to expect scale-wise. Sadly, I had almost finished up some Stargrave models for comparison's sake, but they're just not done yet. And I really wanted to put this video up, and I'm just so impatient that I could not wait until those guys were done. My apologies. So, if you are like me and you are looking to use models in multiple game systems, we'll grab a traditional Secundus Marine. Obviously, Primaris, Secundus, get it? Ha 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 ha. So, being he is a little short and stocky these days, you can see he's going to fit in pretty decently with these guys. Using a Wargames Atlantic Rumjäger, which is kind of like my standard go-to sci-fi human-sized model. I think they fit in pretty well. Obviously, their armor is a little bit heavier looking than his, so I don't have any issues with the fact that he's a little bit shorter than them. He's also on a smaller base. Grabbing a Primaris model, a little bit taller than the Weaver. Not that surprising, you know, when you think about it. Grabbing some actual other privateer. The one and only painted Warcaster model I have that we got during the beginning of the lockdown. Fun times. I want to say she's from the Marcher Worlds, wasn't she? I honestly don't remember. Not the greatest paint job, I will admit it, but she is painted nonetheless. She's about the right size. Sliding all the more regular size models off the table, because it's all about the Paladin. Let's be honest. My first thought was, how do they stack up with some Infinity stuff? So here we have, I know it's an Ariadne kit. I can't think of Blackjack. That's it. So almost comparable in size, definitely comparable in base size. So if you wanted something a little bit more sleek and high tech, if you don't mind proxies in a game of Infinity, might be something worth considering. Throwing out my Salamandra, the one and only tag that I have yet to paint. I swear I have an Avatar somewhere laying around that needs to get done. Or maybe that's just my imagination. Some kind of, something Toha or something combined. I'm not sure. I know I've got some other ones laying around one of these days. So you can see here, definitely not as big as a tag, but I'd say pretty comparable to an Infinity heavy infantry model. But honestly, the way he's standing and posing with his underslung gun like that, even though the Blackjack has something similar, you know what our Paladin really reminded me of, and probably what I will paint him similar to, is one of the heavy armor guys from Verge of War. Now that is an obscurity. We'll have some more Verge of War stuff hopefully in the future. He fits in pretty nice size-wise as well. I dig those guys. If you're curious about those, I'll have to put a link or a card or whatever you call those things on the YouTube video if you want to check out some of that Verge of War stuff. I actually got a hold of one of their starter sets, and I have been meaning to put that up here as well. But you know what? I think these guys are going to look great together if I want to have a big, heavy infantry squad for something like, Star Breach or Stargrave, obviously. The one I'd really like to get my hands on, as I'm waiting for Modifius, at least at the moment, to hurry up and get it to U.S. shores or get it through customs, is 5 parsecs from home. That's really what I'd like to get these guys to use in. So hopefully we will have a review of that game in the very near future as well. We'll put a link down below if you haven't checked out Privateer's website in some time. I admit it's hard to get this stuff in person these days, which is a real shame. But then again, with the craziness in the world at the moment, well, I can't say that's all that surprising. So if you haven't had a chance to check out the Warcaster game itself, while it does share a lot of similarities with the other Privateer games, War Machine, I was going to say Warcaster, but that's what we're talking about. War Machine and Hordes. There are some similarities there. A lot of stuff under the hood that's the same, but it kind of is its own thing as well. And they're continuing to put new releases out as well, so that's always a plus as well. With that said, this has been High Lord Tamerlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.